Hi, you're watching me, the diplomat, and joining us on the show today is Pundit Manideo Persad, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ranjan.
The relationship between India and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, it started on May 30th, 1845, when the first ship, Fatal Razak, carrying 225 indentured laborers, reached Trinidad. How has the relationship grown since then? So many years.
The relationship has grown dramatically. In fact, we should be aware that Trinidad and Tobago is a nation of immigrants. Unlike some of the other countries, there are no or very little what we will call indigenous peoples. The diplomatic relations have been basically long-standing from the moment we achieved independence. So there has been that closeness, which was occasioned, I would say, by the diaspora connection. Trinidad and Tobago today has a population of over 40%. The largest grouping is Indian origin.
Right.
18% is mixed between Indian and African origin people, so that people who claim a heritage to India exceeds 58% of our population today.
But why is it that you're saying 58% Indians are there? But when we think of people, the Indians who have been outside achieving a lot, outside India, we think of different nations, but never of Trinidad and Tobago.
I think what has happened is the geography has been an issue. You know Mauritius, right. You know Fiji.
Where Indians have achieved a lot.
Right. They have been more in the news in India. I have found that when I came in 2003, that in doing an assessment of the state of relations at that time, people did not know, and people on the average do not know of Trinidad and Tobago. When I ask them of Trinidad and Tobago, they don't know. When I say West Indies, they know because of cricket.
Right.
Actually, our sporting icon, Brian Lara, is better known at that time, I think, than the name Trinidad and Tobago because of cricket.
And what is the relevance of month of May, which is called as the Heritage Month?
We are the first country in the world to declare a public holiday for Indian Arrival Day. May 30th is declared a public holiday in our country to celebrate the arrival of Indians. Emancipation Day, the emancipation of slaves, we again celebrate that on August the 1st, a public holiday, freedom from slavery. So you find, given our diverse cosmopolitan makeup, each diaspora is encouraged to develop its linkages for the benefit not only of its own community, but to bring benefit to the entire country.
You're talking of diverse cosmopolitan makeup, diversity that is there in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
You're saying people from all over, they're there, 58% of them are Indian.
So 40% are Indian, 18% are mixed between Indian and African.
I'm including that
30%,
also.
yes.
Including that also. And your motto is, together we aspire, together we achieve. But why is it that the general perception out here, outside Trinidad and Tobago, is that there's a lot of ethnic conflict among the people out there?
Okay, that's an interesting question, because most of the supposed ethnic conflict, now when we talk ethnic conflict, at least from my perspective, I think violence, I think actual physical violence against people, things like that, that does not exist in Trinidad and Tobago. Traditionally supported
You're saying
the
there's no violence of this sort which will prove that there's some conflict among the people out there. But is there some sort of racism existing?
You see, you speak to every grouping in Trinidad and Tobago, and every grouping will say they feel a sense of alienation or racism may exist. Because being a democracy, each grouping, there's a lobby. So that each grouping seeks to develop its own base. Each grouping seeks to develop its own influence. Now, I was tracing for you the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. From independence, the People's National Movement is basically majority African origin support. Right. The opposition party, which had a majority of Indian support, has been changing its name. There have been different incarnations of that party from then to now. Every political party in Trinidad and Tobago realizes that you cannot run the country without the support of all people.
All people, right.
Right? And the People's National Movement has managed to be in power and to continue in power for so long, and is currently in power.
I know.
Because it has been able to bridge this divide to a greater extent than other parties. So together we aspire, together we achieve. Our national anthem says, side by side we stand. Every creed and race find an equal place. This is not a statement of a completed position. It's an aspiration that we are seeking.
You're talking of PNM, but that came into power. Again, the election was held. Again, it came into power. You know, it won again with more majority.
Yes.
But why was it, that there was some conflict and the election was to be held again?
The United National Congress, which was led by the first Prime Minister of Indian origin, Basdeo Pandey, won the election. Within 1 year of being in power, the party had internal differences, and 3 or 4 members, including the Attorney General at the time, decided to withdraw support from the Prime Minister. It seemed to be going that way when the Prime Minister then called elections.
No, but this was because of the conflict between Africans and East Indians.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. The conflict took place within the United National Congress, which formed the government. So with the majority that they had, with disenchantment within the United National Congress itself, the Prime Minister opted for calling elections. And in that election that was held, there was a tie, 18-18, between the UNC and the PNM.
So PNM came into power.
But how did it come into power? Both political leaders, the Honorable Patrick Manning, Prime Minister at this time, and the Honorable Basdeo Pandey, entered an agreement because at 18-18 there was a constitutional deadlock. Who has a majority?
No, but anyways, the election was held again. We come to the next question. What is the role of Mahatma Gandhi Institute for mutual cooperation or for cultural cooperation between the two nations?
There is a great demand for traditional Indian culture in Trinidad and Tobago. I should mention Bollywood films and so are very, very popular also. Very popular. So that the Mahatma Gandhi Cultural Institute basically provides an avenue by which nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, of whatever origin, can have exposure and develop knowledge and expertise in Indian culture. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has given land for building the Mahatma Gandhi Cultural Institute. It was done over 10 years ago, and we are hopeful that the construction will begin this year.
That's what is the question. If it was given 10 years ago, why the construction couldn't take place in the 10 years? It's a long time.
That's really
why
a question
doesn't it come into reality?
That's really a question for the Indian authorities. But what I'm told is that Trinidad and Tobago has seen a growth rate that is phenomenal. People talk of India's growth rate at 9% and China's growth rate at 10.5 or 6%. You know what our growth rate was last year? Over 12.6%. We have doubled our economy in the last 5 years.
I know, per capita GDP, yeah.
Our per capita income is over 14,000 US. What has happened as a consequence is inflation.
Which was double the previous.
Yeah. So because of inflation, I suspect what I'm told is that the initial estimates for the construction are no longer applicable. So that the Indian authorities are looking at it, and we have been told that construction, and we are hopeful that construction would begin this year.
More issues we'll talk on after a short break. Keep watching Meet the Diplomat. Welcome back. You're watching Meet the Diplomat. One of the key priority of Trinidad and Tobago is to gain the status of a developed nation by the year 2020. Yes. By Vision 2020. How are you working on it?
Okay, Vision 2020 is a statement of our aspiration to achieve developed nation status. Right now what we are doing, we have a master plan with which we are looking to develop. For example, we spoke about rights, road works, infrastructure, systems, hospital systems, many things. So that right now, if someone were to visit Trinidad and Tobago, you would find that there's a tremendous amount of activity, construction activity. So much so that local contractors are not able to meet demand. So that, for example, we are building 2 stadia right now, performing arts stadiums, centers, and Chinese contractors have won those things. French contractors, other people, contractors from all over the world. So that there's a great deal of infrastructural development. A lot has to be done, but we are hopeful, even if we do not achieve the entire listed objectives, but we'll be closer to it by
But
year
India
2020.
too is moving on the same path with the aim to gain the status of a developed nation. So when the two of us are moving on the same road, on the same direction, are we planning to cooperate with each other on this line?
Well, areas for cooperation are continually being identified, and there are a number of cooperation agreements between India and Trinidad and Tobago. And for example, India has provided for us a number of professionals and experts in various fields. In the field of public administration, for example, e-governance, which is one of India's, ITech is India's capacity, where we have scholars from India and experts assisting in Trinidad and Tobago, as indeed we have from other parts of the world.
Coming to Hindi language, what do you do to promote Hindi in Trinidad and Tobago?
Trinidad and Tobago, Indian culture was transplanted from India to Trinidad and Tobago. And in the local scenario, with the local pulls and pressures, given the ability of Indian culture to synthesize and to assimilate elements from wherever it is found. Maybe that's why it's called Sanatan Dharma, an ability to perpetuate itself. It developed there also. So in other words, while Indian culture here would have gone on a longer path based on Indian experiences, in Trinidad and Tobago, the people of Indian origin carried with them the seed of Indian culture, the ethos of Indian culture. Ramayana, Tulsidas Ramayana was very popular, is very popular, the most popular scripture in Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed the Caribbean. The Indian cultural traditions have developed. So you find the festivals, Shri Ram Navami, Shri Krishna Janmashtami.
तो पंडित मणिदेव प्रसाद खुद कैसे हिंदी बोलते हैं?
हिंदी मित्र भाषा है, परंतु सरकारी भाषा Hindi.
So you're talking in English?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of Indian culture, for example, temples. There are over 350 temples in Trinidad and Tobago. The largest Hanuman Murti in the Western Hemisphere is in Trinidad and Tobago, over an 85-foot Hanuman that was recently built. Hindi, we have over 5 radio stations that are all Hindi format, playing Bollywood songs, bhajans, music. Indian culture is very, very alive. And also an interesting facet of it is the fact that locally, as I said, given its exposure and with different cultures, we've now developed a music art form called chutney, which is a mix between Hindi music, Bhojpuri, and
a little masala
calypso.
kind of.
Yes, very fast beat and peppy music, as we would say.
मुझे ये एहसास है कि कहीं ना कहीं आप भोजपुरी भी जानते हैं और भोजपुरी गाने की एक लाइन अगर आप सुना सकें.
अच्छा, मैं रामायण गाऊंगा.
That's all right.
There is this verse in Ramayana in Trinidad that every child is taught. Dhanya janam jagati taltasu pitahi pramoda charita sunijasu. Blessed is that child who by their actions brings happiness to the mind of their parents. Each successive generation of people of Indian origin, we try to inculcate this in our children, to grow, expand, do positive works, be loyal to your country of birth, but don't forget that connection with India, with Bharat.
Both SAARC and CARICOM, the Caribbean community, are making efforts for regional market integration. Why shouldn't they both get together to achieve this?
This is interesting. Trinidad and Tobago, we are a population of 1.3 million people. CARICOM itself is 15 million. Over 80% of the trade within CARICOM emanates from Trinidad and Tobago. So that we are the most industrialized of the CARICOM islands, CARICOM countries, I should say. And CARICOM, and indeed Trinidad and Tobago, is always looking at ways to expand markets. We were talking on FTAA, which included the US. Those talks are basically, should I say, stalled. But Trinidad and Tobago and CARICOM have established trade agreements with the US individually, UK, Mercosur region, the Latin American region.
But can't these two come together, CARICOM and SAARC?
Yes, so that what I'm saying is our policy is to seek opportunities like these. It's because given our 1.3 million population, we are not an export market. But what we offer, for example, Indian business, is the opportunity to use our access, our country as an access point to reach these various markets. Given our focus on seeking to expand ties with Asia, certainly agreements such as these can be looked at and would be looked at in due course.
That's what I was going to come to. Trinidad and Tobago, it has played a very, very important role as a political and economic leader in the Caribbean countries. Being one of the leaders, you know, how can you help to take India close to the other Caribbean nations?
Well, that process is ongoing. Recently, my Minister of Trade, the Honorable Kenneth Valley, came. We signed a BIPA agreement with India. India and Trinidad and Tobago have conferred on each other most favored nation status. Trade is increasing, and we basically offer India, Trinidad and Tobago as a base from which Indian companies can access the region. So this is the way Trinidad and Tobago can be of value.
Everything is happening to get India and Trinidad and Tobago close to each other, but
not everything. More can be done.
More can be done. More can be done, and we are moving on that path together, hand in hand. But still, when we think of Indian community performing excellent, impressive outside, we don't think of Trinidad and Tobago. We need to reach that stage.
I think it's a question of awareness. It is coming. Also, I should tell you, the first Bollywood film is going to be filmed in Trinidad and Tobago. Vivek Vaswani, Dulha Mil Gaya.
Oh, great.
Right? Shooting is starting in a few days. It was announced. So that will help. But I think that the primary issue with regard to trade between India, Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed India CARICOM has been one, a knowledge deficit. We didn't know enough about each other.
Right.
2, distance. 3, connectivity. And these issues have to be addressed.
Hope we clear all these roadblocks and move ahead together. Thanks a lot for talking.
Thank you.
So that's all for today in Meet the Diplomat. See you next week again. Till then.